Welcome to Netlabs Hub. Today I'm going to configure email server in an enterprise network using this guideline. These are the steps that I'm going to follow as I configure email server in enterprise network. In these steps, I'm going to create a topology, configure VLANs. Step 2, configure trunking port to allow multi-VLAN traffic. Also configure sub interfaces for VLANs. This one is going to act as 802.1q to route traffic between the VLANs. Step 4, I'm going to configure email and other servers and also test connectivity. So this is the topology that I'm going to use. This is my topology. As you can see, I haven't configured anything on this topology. So I'm going to configure this network to ensure that when a user at finance department can communicate via email to administration. So this is the router that is going to serve as a gateway to determine how the traffic shall be routed. So let me start by creating VLANs. I'm going to move a bit faster. Enable config terminal, hostname, main, switch to VLAN 10, name, finance, VLAN 20, name, administration. So I have already created VLAN. You can see show VLAN. So my VLANs are created here, 10, then 20. So let me assign switch ports to the VLANs. To assign switch ports, you go to global configuration mode, then interface, range fast Ethernet 01 up to 9, switch port mode access, then switch port access VLAN 10, description finance department. After there, exit, then interface, first interface range. Without the word range, you will not be able to bundle multiple interfaces together. So first Ethernet 010 to 20, switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 20, description administration department. So this is how to create VLANs in Cisco Packet Tracer, especially on 2960 Catalyst switch. Let me save. To save, copy running startup configuration. So that is it. I have created VLANs on this switch. So next I'm going to configure the trunk port, which is gigabit 0/2 interface, gigabit 0/2 description, trunk port for finance and administration. So switch port mode trunk, switch port trunk allowed VLAN 10, 20. So that is it. I have allowed VLAN 20 and VLAN 20 at 10. So after this point, I have configured my trunk port, but you realize this port is not up because the port on the router is not up. So let me create sub interfaces on the router. Config. First of all, let me give host name main router 1 interface gigabit 0/0. On this interface, I'm not going to assign any IP. Interface. So on this interface, I'm not going to assign any IP. So to create a sub interface, you go to the main interface, and then you create it that way. So this is for finance department, encapsulation.1q, that is 10, then IP address 192.168.20.1 255.255.255.0, no shutdown. So you give the first IP address from this subnet, then also you repeat the same, then create one for this subnet. So interface gigabit 0/0.20, description, administration, encapsulation.20, IP address 192.168.30.1 no shutdown. So I'm done configuring the interface. Let me configure the DHCP pools for this. So I'm done configuring the VLANs, the trunk port, and the interface. Let me assign this, the first IP on this interface gig 0/1, config interface gig 0/1, no shutdown, description, facing data center, then IP address 192.168.10.1255255.255.0, and then copy running startup, then that's or write memory or write memory. So you realize on this there is DHCP server here, there is DNS here, and then there is email server here. So I want to configure this DHCP server in a way that it provides pools on this particular departments, or I can configure the DHCP server on this router to do that. So let me try. So I'm going to assign this static IP 192.168.10.1, that is 10. DNS is 15. Gateway is 1. So when it comes to DHCP server, then let me create the pool. This is 20.1. That is the administration. Then DNS server is 15. Then this is 20. Then you turn it on, then you save. So this is the finance. The start IP, let it be from 100. So I'll add finance 30. Sorry, this is 30. Then this is 30. So this is administration department. So once you do that, then you add, this is finance, then 30, that is so it's okay. But you realize for this to receive an IP address, the server is on another network, then the departments are on the other network. So I'll take this IP address, then configure one of the sub interface here to be the relay agent, gigabit 0/0.10 IP helper, and then I'll give the IP address for the when I show running configuration, you can see that on this interface I have added this, so that this one is going to allow the packets to pass through this router to get to the DHCP server. So let me first test if at all it works. It's failing. So config terminal, then router RIP, then network 192.168.10.0, then this is 20, then this is 30. No auto summary. So this is a dynamic routing protocol that I'm using to enable routing in this. So you see, it has successfully gotten the IP address from that pool. So that is how you can configure your computers to get IP address from a distant DHCP server. So I have enabled this. Let me now repeat the same to configure the IP helper address on the IP helper for the LAN for the address for the administration department, that is 10.10 and then write. Okay, so I'm done on that section. So let me configure the email. The DHCP server is okay. The DHCP server is okay. So the DNS is the one that is remaining. This is 15. So you come here, this is DNS, then you put it on, then the name Netlabs hub, then the address is 15. That is how to configure. So you add this record, then you save. So I'm done configuring the DHCP, the DNS server for this enterprise network. So the final thing is to configure the email server. First of all, you assign the server the static IP, which is 5. Then the gateway is 1. Then the DNS server is 15. You come on the service. On the service, you specify the domain name, Netlabs, netlabs.com, netlabshub.com. Then admin, you create the users, that is the accounts on the email. Then finance 1, 2, 3. So that's the password. Once you do that, SMTP is okay. Simple mail transfer protocol. This is the protocol that will help to forward the mail from one user to the other. Then this one will help in terms of downloading or receiving the email in the inboxes. So I have created admin, then finance. This user should communicate. So on that, let this one be finance. Then this one be admin. First of all, let me start with configuring the email client on the admin. That is admin at netlabshub.com. Then incoming server is the IP address for the mail server. Then outgoing mail server is the IP address for the. So I'm done configuring that. This is a simple process that you should follow. This is finance. Then the mail for finance is finance@netlabshub.com. Then 5. Then 5 is the IP for the server. Then 1, 2, 3. So I have finished configuring my network, so it is time to test. First of all, let me ping from this. You see it has received a IP address. So let me check. Finance is having which IP? 20.100. So let me ping to admin. If at all there is communication, 192.168.30.100. Let's give it time. You see there is communication happening. So meaning there is interdepartment communication. This department can communicate with this by the power of the trunk port here and the creation of sub interface on this router. So it is time to confirm if I can send an email. So let finance department send an email to the admin. So you come to the email client, then you compose an email to who? To admin@netlabshub.com. Then the subject of the email, then finance updates. Maybe dear Vice Chancellor, please find attached finance records for 2025-2026. Regards, Senior Accountant. So the moment this email is sent, it is sent to the admin, then admin can get it through the inbox. So it is saying that sending to the server with that. So admin@netlabshub.com. So let me troubleshoot this just a minute. You come on this server. So you come on this server, you check if netlabshub.com. So the moment you do that, you set the name. So once you set the name, these are the accounts. Okay, so my server is okay. Then IP address, it's also okay. First of all, let me ping the computers can communicate with the server. Let me check. It's okay. So let me try again. Then send. You see, send success. The email has been sent. So when you come to the admin PC here, then you receive the email. You can see finance@netlabshub, finance records or updates. This is it on Monday 6th. You see? So that's how you can configure the email server in an enterprise network. This is a step-by-step lab that you should follow. Thank you so much. If you feel this lab has helped you so much, feel free to subscribe, share, comment, and like. Always, I'm free to collaborate. If you feel so, just comment on this video so that I can help you or share these files for you. Thank you.